guys, welcome to the Homestead. I think I've created something that's going to take a life of its own. So a while back, I did a video on that one thing you're not allowed to mention here on YouTube because, well, some people are. There are certain homestead channels out there that are a lot more prim and proper, who don't mention things that the pink-haired, blue-haired keyboard commandos over at YouTube don't like you to mention. And so they don't get into those topics, at least not too hard. And their channels are allowed to flourish. And if they mention things like, oh, you know, those 2 words that you ought not mention on YouTube, then they're fine. But if I mention those things, then I get strikes, I get bans, I get demonetized, I get sent nasty, horrible letters. I even sometimes have to go to re-education camp here at YouTube. I've done that once. So anyway, I did a video on the whole thing going on with the Department of Michigan a few weeks back, and I mentioned that those 2 words that you ought not mention on YouTube, and I reversed the words. So reading those words backwards, it spells war clim, war, W-A-R, clim, K-L-I-M, war clim. And so, so one of our patrons, I believe it's a patron, sent this in right there. Check that out. Warclim. Isn't that hilarious? Absolutely fantastic. And so this is put out by a company called Genesis Designs. It's a father-daughter company. I believe they're on Discord, and so that my oldest son and my youngest son were going back and forth with them because they were wanting to send me this. And so yeah, Warclim. And I'm like, once I got it, I'm like, this is awesome. I want to put this on like a t-shirt. So what do you guys think? Put it on a t-shirt? I think it's awesome. So they sent that to me, and I'll be in contact with them in an email asking about designs. Maybe they can provide me some sort of Illustrator file or some sort of thing that I can use to make a t-shirt out of that. And the name of the company is JSGenesisDesigns.com. They make all kinds of great stuff. You can go check out their website at that link and go ahead and see what else they make, and maybe show your thanks and appreciation for their ingenuity on the war clim plaque by buying something from their website. But okay, more to come on that. Again, it's taking a life of its own. I want to get into this whole idea. There's a number of states that are continuing to push out homeschool funding. So parents who don't send their kids to public schools still have to pay taxes for those public schools, even though they're not using them. Or maybe they do use them. Sometimes I know homeschoolers use the public schools for like extracurricular activities or electives, things like that. But for the most part, I would think that most homeschoolers, at least that I know, do not want anything to do with the public school system. However, they still pay taxes. And so a number of states, a lot of red states, have tried to put forth initiatives to say, hey, these people are entitled to some of that money. They have children, they pay taxes, they should, and they're still educating their schools. They should be allowed to recuperate some of the money they're spending for the education of their children, rather than all that tax money that's going towards the funding and programming and brainwashing of other children. So these initiatives are passing and they're catching on fire. Now, I know most of you within the sound of my voice are going to be like, Zach, I don't want anything to do with the government. I don't want anything to do with the state. I want them completely out of my lives. I'm not going to participate in any such program. And I understand that way of thinking. However, and in life there is always a however, you are paying taxes, whether you like it or not. And most of these initiatives, okay, are going to help you recuperate some of those taxes that you're spending. And understand that most of these initiatives are in more conservative, not always, conservative states, and are being led by people who want to make sure that homeschooling, now that we have a foot in the door after the pandemic, there are so many millions now who began homeschooling, that we don't give up any ground. And the way you entrench yourself in the government collective is to make sure you take government money. That's just the truth. So, It is. I understand. It's like this beastly thing that exists over there, and you just want to stay as far away from it as possible. And I get it. Trust me, I get it. But on the other hand, there are people who are like, man, we really want to make sure homeschoolers never go away, that we don't lose any ground. We have gained so much ground, and the cat's out of the bag, and we're a gigantic voting base now. And it's true. We are. You have millions upon millions of homeschoolers now in this country. And again, there's two reasons why I say this happened. Number one, for the first time, parents saw the curriculum that their children were being given and saw how horrible it was, okay, at the pandemic. And they were disgusted by it. And the second thing they saw was just how low that curriculum set the bar. They're like, my kids are never going to succeed if they continue to go through these systems. And so they pulled their kids out en masse and started homeschooling them. And so that's one of the reasons why there are so many doing it now. And people don't want to lose ground. So on one hand, you have this system that you really don't want to touch with a 10-foot pole. On the other hand, you don't want to, because there are people out there who want, because of the amount of homeschoolers that have gotten out of the system, they're trying to figure out ways to get you back in it. They're trying to get you to be forced to be tested, to be under the curriculum of a state agency or a state government or a federal government. They want you under that curriculum. The more people who are outside of that, who can yell and scream and moan and vote, ensures that that's unlikely to happen. And so these movements coming afoot to provide funding for people like you and me so that we can recoup some tax dollars, okay, and then also become an even louder voice. Here are the states right now that are doing this as of right now, but I think this might need to be updated by the end of the year, by the end of 2024. Leading off with Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, California, Florida, Idaho, Illinois is where I'm come from, Indiana, Iowa, Louisiana, New Hampshire, Oklahoma, Oregon, Tennessee, Utah, West Virginia. And again, after the end of 2024, there'll probably be a couple of others to add to this list. Now, most of these programs are called education savings accounts that are in different states. The one in Arkansas, where I am located, is called the Education Freedom Account. And it was pushed to be in place by Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders, and so far it seems really, really good. This allows you to be able to pay for your tuition, fees, any school uniforms, any sorts of educational placement testing, diagnostic testing, services provided by or at the participating school. Okay. Or private schools, instructional materials required for in-person or virtual instruction provided by a participating service, instructional services, music lessons, gymnastics, dance 2 times a week, tutorial services, curriculum. That right there, I mean, that was way down the list, but I'm like, for me, that's the most expensive part of homeschooling is buying the curriculum every year. I mean, raise your hand if you agree. Supplemental materials or supplies. Now, this is a big one too. We'll talk about this in a second because I have a list of your books. But it's like, if I want to have extra books that I think are going to go along with things that I want to teach or that I want my kids to learn this year, I can buy those books as supplemental and have that covered under this program. Fees for courses and other things like that. There's other issues like you can buy a printer up for, with a cost of up to $500, ink, toner, pencils, paper, markers, whiteboard, personal computing devices up to $1,000 in this category, I believe, per year. But if it's a laptop, desktop type thing, it can only be once every 3 years. Headphones, projectors, there's different things listed in here, and transportation costs, various transportation costs, and different fees. That is what is covered. What is not covered, and they have a list of those things as well, are field trips, museums, backpacks, lunch boxes, paper towels, Ziploc bags, like why do you Ziploc, wet wipes, musical instrument purchase or rental, televisions, cameras, photography stuff, sound equipment, game consoles. You don't want your kids playing video games all day. Smartwatches, Fitbits. Is that like one of those things that count your steps? I think I need to get one of those. Alexa, Nest, Google Home devices, cell phones, subscriptions purchased with your cell phone, and televisions. Didn't it say that? It says televisions twice. So it's really clear about televisions. No televisions. You can't buy television. You can't buy your new big screen TV with your school funding. But it does give, the curriculum was the thing I was the most concerned with, and supplemental, which is like books and things like that. And then school supplies, but the school supplies, paper, pens, pencils, that's small potatoes. What I'm concerned about is the amount of curriculum that I have to buy every year and the expenses for that. It keeps going up, it seems like, everything else in the world today. So I'm basically keeping a record of all my receipts that I have for my curriculum for the school year. I'm printing all that out, keeping it so that I can submit that to the state. And I believe it's up to $6,000 of what you are allowed to recoup per child per year, which I think is fantastic. And so, as I just mentioned in the other video the other day, our local school lost a lot of students, about 100 students, and they listed as one of the reasons for losing students this year in the attendance was because of homeschoolers. And for every student they lose $7,700 of state funding. Now, you're getting back, at least I'm getting back, $6,000 of that state funding. It's not I can understand maybe it's a little bit higher for the school because they have electricity, all that stuff. Whatever, I don't know. But $6,000, that's a nice amount to recoup if I had to. And I'm going to, especially for some of the things I mentioned, I'm going to be using that. And I understand being the system being entrenched in that. But again, I think as of right now, for my students, I have a senior and I've got a 7th grader, and I like the idea of being able to use a system for money that I am paying into the system. I want my money back. Okay. So with that, check out in your state, if you're in one of those states, what is available to you. Do not if you don't want to participate, I get it. I mean, that's fine. And you're not going to get any wrong words from me, but for me, I want my money back. Okay, so up on patreon.com, I just put up a list of books for boys, and anyone can access this. This is not available to just patron members. I put it up open to the public where you can download this PDF. I'm sorry that the PDF you're going to download is a little bit grainy. It's not bad, but you can still read it. But I had to take a picture of it because I couldn't get my scanner over here to work. Maybe I should buy a new printer. With my newly found state dollars for school. But anyway, these are some of the books that we're going to be reading for school. And this list was given to me by one of the lecturers over at the homeschool convention that took place in St. Louis earlier this spring. And so it's got a list of great books and movies, some movies that are great for boys. So if you want that list and you want it for free without even being a member, there's a link down below where you can click on that and go right to my Patreon page and then get that PDF. You can download it from my server. But some of the ones that I want to make a mention of a couple of these. So there's a number of books that are authored by Trevor Dupuy. Right there. Can you see that? Trevor Dupuy. There's a list here of some of those books, and what I have found is he wrote a whole bunch of other ones, and I think I got most of these books from Abe Books. Abe Books.com. ABEbooks.com. I found most of those books over there. In fact, there was one. I can let the cat out of the bag now because I got it and no one else can get it. I think it was the same author, and he wrote the Military Life of George Washington. That book, I think I found it on Amazon for like $350. Of course, I didn't buy it. And then I found it on another website for like $150. But then I found it on, was it Abe Books for like, it was, because Abe Books, I think, is a collective of different sellers. So it was from an Australian seller for $15 with a $30 shipping. And I'm like, I'll pay $45 for a book that's normally worth $350 on Amazon and $150 on, I look at books like collector's items too sometimes. Am I the only one who does that, or does anybody else out there do that? Okay, I know I don't want to get this video to get long, but there's a lot of great books in here. There was all kinds of other books by him that seemed to be really popular, and they weren't that expensive. Most of them were very cheap over at abebooks.com. And so your kids will like those. I want my kids to learn about historical figures. Also, let's see, there's some other ones in here too, some other good books, boyhood books. Some of them you probably recognize, but then on this one, I bought an adventure book, West with the Night by Beryl Markham. And then I got some other ones in here. Song of the River by Billy Clark. Mutiny on the Bounty. You see that? Mutiny on the Bounty by Nordhoff and Hall. Now, there was lots of different mutinies on the Bounties, most of them written by, I believe, the captain of the ship at the time and just reprinted. But this Nordhoff and Hall was the one that I got because that was the one that was recommended. And the guy who put together this list has a website where you can go. He works for Memoria Press. So right there, Memoria Press. I have it circled on the PDF. You'll see it circled. And you can get more for boys. I don't know if he's got books over there for girls too. You might want to check it out. I'm sure Memoria Press has that list, so you might want to check that out. But I just thought I'd share that list with you. I gave you that PDF, downloadable for free over at Patreon. You don't need to be a patron. Just click the link down below, go over and get it, and then maybe see about getting some books. And if you're in one of these states that allows, where is it at? These educational savings accounts or educational freedom accounts, use those to pay for them. Save your receipts, turn them in. I'm waiting for the form to come up. I had some questions, so I tried to call the offices this morning, to get clarification on some things. And it seems to me there's nobody, it's a government office anyway, so I mean, really. But it seems like there has been so much interest. They are beyond overwhelmed over there. Because they're probably overwhelmed anyway because it's a government office. But this is like, head and shoulders above normal. And because there's so many people wanting to take part in this. And I think this year they're only going to be getting a certain amount of people in the door. And then next year it's basically open season to anybody in my state. So if you haven't got in yet, try to get in, try to get your application in. I got mine approved within I think a day. Mine got approved. But I still have some questions about some clarifying things on that, and I'm working. They don't have the form yet up to submit for your expenditures and expenses, but I'm waiting for that to go up soon. It should go up in the next couple of days for my state, and then they say that the first monies will be distributed by the end of August. So that's pretty soon, within 10 days. So I'm looking forward to maybe getting this form in and just trying it out. And then if anything goes crazy, I'll report back and let you know how it goes. But if you're using one of these educational savings accounts and you've had success or failures with it, please leave your experience below. If you wouldn't touch this with a 10-foot pole because you don't want anyone to know you exist on planet Earth, too late. I'm guaranteeing you they already know you exist. Please also leave a comment below. But I understand why you wouldn't want to do that. I was like, but I'm like, I want my money back. That's really what it comes down to for me. I'm interested to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment below about your experience. Would you or wouldn't you? And I'll read about it, and others will read about it too. Your comment may help someone else, think it over. So, what do you think? All right, guys. Hey, also check out these guys. JSGenesisDesigns.com. And one more look at the war clim. Isn't that funny? All right, guys. See you next time at the Homestead. Bye. One of the best perks about living off-grid is that I never pay an electric bill. I love being my own power company, but that means when things go wrong, I have to be the one on call. So I try and use reliable components for my power production. For the last couple of years, I've been promoting OUPES solar generators. I've been using them and abusing them, and as it turns out, they are pretty good products. They have power generators for all occasions, and they can be charged by permanent or portable solar panels, as well as AC power. They offer true lithium iron phosphate batteries, and this is important. Recently, a family in my area had a different brand that uses the less stable nickel manganese cobalt or NMC type batteries. The unit caught fire in the middle of the night. It was a scary situation, and it caused damage to the home, but thankfully nobody was hurt. The generator, as you can see, was a total loss. This drives home the point on why it's so important to employ solar generators like the OUPES brand that uses the much more safe and stable technology of lithium iron phosphate, otherwise called LiFePO4. They offer small generators for travel or for powering an entire home and everything in between. These are great backups to have in a medical emergency or to power a freezer full of your favorite meat products, or as I have shown in past videos, for even backup AC and DC power sources for ham radio communications. If the grid goes down, you're going to be thankful you have one of these units. You can find the link in the description of this video or click on the banner ad found on the front page of our website at AmericanHomestead.com. Right here, that banner ad right there on AmericanHomestead.com. Hey guys, did you know you can become a patron of an American Homestead? They get access to private videos, and we send them gifts from the homestead that we make here on the homestead. And we also enter our patrons into special giveaways that are only available to them. And before you go, please check out these other great videos. Go ahead, click. Oh wait.